Tash Talks is proudly sponsored by Recharge for smarter subscription experiences. The world's best brands are powered by routine, and the world's best routines are powered by Recharge. Hello and welcome to Tash Talks, the chat show where I sit down with some of the most inspirational female entrepreneurs and leaders in the UK today. Now, many of us believe that once you get to a certain age, you're too old to start your own business. Our next guest is about to prove that that couldn't be further from the truth. Maxine Laceby started the brand Absolute Collagen at the age of 50 from her kitchen table. Today, Absolute Collagen is the biggest collagen brand in the UK and has also been featured on the Sunday Times fastest growing companies list twice. I'm so proud to welcome Maxine Laceby to Tash Talks. Welcome, Maxine. I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm going to ask you the first question that I know the answer to, but I want to see what your answer is. Who is Maxine Laceby?
Interesting question. Who is Maxine Laceby? Maxine Laceby today is the person she was always meant to be, but my journey to Absolute Collagen, to discovering Absolute Collagen, took me on that process of discovering myself. Is that a bit complex? Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, a bit complex though.
Who would I say you are? I would say you're an incredibly inspiring entrepreneur who you started a business in later life, and the thing I always think, when I think of Maxine, I think Maxine gets it right. I've said this to you before. You are an intuitive person who prioritises your children and you get things right. And I think that's an amazing mix.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? So I have this saying, I'm just a little old me doing my thing. And it's really interesting to see how other people see you. I'm just me. I cannot be anybody else.
Yeah.
Warts and all, I'm me. I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And I'm very passionate about turning up as you, about being the person you want other people to see. When I came up the ranks, if you like, in business, everybody had a degree, everybody had experience. I had none of that.
Yeah.
And so people didn't really take me seriously. And that was okay. It meant I went under the radar. But I'm just really passionate about being authentic and being you and never pretending to be something you're not. Because that's hard work, right?
I would say you 100% are passionate about that, and that is how you live live your life.
Good.
And I need to confess that obviously you and I have known each other for quite a long time. Quite a long time. And we met way back in the beginning of Absolute Collagen,
yeah.
which
came and hounded you.
You came and hounded me. And I was lucky enough to be able to come on a part of that Absolute Collagen journey with you. And Absolute Collagen is now the biggest, I would imagine, collagen brand in the UK. You're on the Sunday Times
Everyone
fastest.
says they're the biggest. We are definitely the biggest.
You're the biggest.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You're on the Sunday Times fastest growing company list.
Yeah.
I think it matters from the point of view that you started this with no business experience at the age of 49, 50.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that story and what happened.
Oh, I think it's an amazing story for me. I got to 49. I'd been a very, very happy stay-at-home mum. Lucky to have been a stay-at-home mum, I get that. Darcy, my eldest, was going to university. Margot, my youngest, had just passed a test. And I was like, wow, I can do whatever I want now. Fabulous. I felt free. What shall I do? And I decided to do a fine art degree. During that first year, I did this project called Dare to Go Bare. And no, I didn't take my clothes off. Thank God. And I stripped myself bare of makeup. I used to have long, dark, curly hair. I had it all cut off. I had the colour taken out because I had it dyed every 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, because it was coming through grey. So it went yellow when I had the colour taken out, and I had a cut really short, which is very dramatic. I wore no makeup, and I did this project for 4 months. I wore really dowdy clothes, so leggings and long T-shirts. The reason I did the project is I wanted to see, as a woman of a certain age, would I disappear in people's vision if I did that? What it made me realise how desperately insecure, once I took off all the external masks, I was. And I made myself sit with it for 4 months. I didn't want to leave the house. At uni, we had a trip to London. I didn't want to go. I mean, crazy, just because I was wearing no makeup and I was wearing dowdy clothes. Mad, right? This is like 8 years ago. And it's ironic that I created a skincare brand because every morning I would sit on the edge of the bed, feeling rubbish, and I would put on this make-believe onesie, and that onesie was Maxine. And I did not know what was going to come out the other side. Now, I don't know, I am ADHD, and I don't know if it's part of that. I am adopted, I don't know if it's part of that. But I don't think I'd ever been my authentic self prior to that. And as a mother, I'd wake up every morning and go, what hat does everyone need me to wear today? Who do you need me to be? But I felt for the first time I didn't need that. And so this project came at a completely fantastic time for me. And with these feelings of insecurity, I had a little yellow post-it note on my mirror saying, you are enough. So I sat myself down, I looked at myself emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And the first physical thing I did is I started making and drinking my own bone broth. And I just had the most amazing sense of well-being. My friends were like, what are you doing? We want some. Started making it for them. I don't like being in the kitchen. It's quite hard work, even bone broth. And I thought, oh, you know, Darcy, really weirdly enough, Darcy was doing psychology at university. She changed right at the last minute to do food science. And she said, are you giving that to your friends? I said, yeah. She said, well, do you think I better take it to the lab to make sure you don't kill them? So I am the risk taker, foot to the accelerator. Darcy is the considered, oh my God, what's she doing now? And that's why it works. And then whenever we let the bone broth go cold, a jelly would form on top. And I do believe this is where my ADHD comes in. So if I want to get from A to Z, I will think of every single way to get there. So I have to think outside the box. And I was like, what is it? What is it? What is it? And it was collagen. And then I asked myself, what did we want? There were skin supplements out there, but they were very expensive and contained a lot more ingredients. I knew that collagen was the thing. I knew I wanted it ready mixed, didn't want to have to keep it in the fridge, as easy as possible to take. Everyone's kind of priced theirs on ours now. And I remember when I first started working with you, and somebody you know very well said to me, why are you charging this price? You could charge more. And I was like, yeah, why? Why will I not charge more? And you get to know yourself in business, and what I find myself is if I've got an issue or something that needs attention, I go into myself. It's not a bad thing. I used to think it was. And I give myself time. What I realised after 2 weeks is I was that little girl when my mum was young, walking around the shops, holding her hand, wondering why my mum could not afford the beauty products that other women could. So making it acceptable to most, okay, £1.93 per day still might be a struggle for some, but it was really, really important to me. So yeah, that's Absolute Collagen in a nutshell. Mad.
It is mad, because I've seen you go from the very start of having, you know, the very early stages of the business through to this, you know, very famous business, I think, amongst women across the UK. And you're still the same person, but you as an entrepreneur have changed a lot because your skills and the situations you faced have obviously become way more varied. How do you feel you've changed as an entrepreneur? And I'm going to hold testament to the fact that you are still the same person. You haven't changed as a person. How do you feel you've changed in business?
Interesting, isn't it? I'm really glad you don't think I've changed as a person. I think being authentic is so, so important. I think so the business has grown with me. We've grown together. So I always say, yes, we're a £30 million business now, but it starts with one sale, one Shopify ching. That's what it starts with. We must never, ever forget that. And so then it was 2, then it was 3. We were packing at home. So you grow with the business. Could I have been placed into a £30 million business? Absolutely not. I've learned on the job and I've grown. And also knowing my skill set, knowing what you're good at. One of my biggest skills is knowing what I'm not good at. And I'm not good at loads of stuff, and I'm okay with that. And that's not imposter syndrome. That is just knowing what you're not good at. One of those things was digital marketing, which is why I came to find you. There's lots of things. You know, the operational side. Because I'm ADHD, my brain's always scattered. Darcy was really good at that at the beginning. She's now moved on to a different area. So I think you grow with the business. I've become very considered. So am I a risk taker? Yes. But I'm a considered risk taker. And the risks today are completely different. So before, in the early days, I would be taking the risk, and it was me and maybe 3, 4, 5 of us. Now it's me and 73 of us. All those people have got families. Everything we do, I consider them. How is this going to affect them? Mm-hmm. And I think you have to be considered. Everything I've done is, I've always done the right thing for her. When I first started, there was no direct consumer, really. It's crazy to think that. But I wanted a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. I wanted the Absolute to be seen and heard, and I wanted to get to know her. And I've grown on that journey too. So I think I've become more considered, less tolerant, because you've only got so many hours in the day. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think you can spend so much time doing stuff. And I think I've had to become very clever about where I spend my time. And that can sometimes feel like I'm not spending enough time with certain people. Mm-hmm. Certainly friends of, you know, you can't do it all, can you? So yeah, so you do change. And I'm sure if we have this conversation in 5 years' time, I'll change in my business outlook again. But I think always remaining your person and who you are, to me, is really important.
When I think back on the things you've got right, and I know I always talk to you about this, I do think you step back and consider things, which I think is an incredible trait. And I think for people around you, it's really helpful to know that.
Yes, because you have to communicate it well. And that's definitely something I've learned I had to do.
And to give you the time to do that as well. Like to know that, you know, Maxine's going to be thinking about this. And then I think the direct consumer and the focus on the her, as you've called it, the absoluters, the community and the direct relationship with the customers. I remember in the early days, you were really focused on that before this space existed in the way that people so clearly articulate it now. That was you and your intuition, wasn't it?
It was. And I remember a couple of times, and this sounds crazy, and I was just speaking about it today. I remember, and people were saying, how do you cope with a fast scaling business? I say, you stop and you consider. And I remember saying to you, please do not acquire any more customers at the moment. I just want to make sure all my systems are working. You were like, what? No one's ever said that to me. But for me, it was the right thing to do because I never, ever wanted her to be let down. Or I didn't want to be that business that, I've ordered for it, it hasn't turned up. Or I just wanted to get it right. Getting things right is really important to me. Not in the way that I won't push my elbows out, because I definitely will. You know, I always think we've got to think outside the box. But making sure she feels everything's right for her is really, I'm so passionate about that.
And in terms of your experience as a woman in business, that's obviously come to you. I mean, people say, it's later life. I mean, I don't think it's later life at all. I think, it's perfect time. Your kids are grown up. It's ideal timing. But do you feel as though it's a later life experience or not?
You know, it's an interesting question. I think everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I've had business ideas many, many years ago.
Yeah.
When I was living in Bath in a flat, I remember people coming round and they'd ring the doorbell and I wouldn't be in. And I remember thinking, how am I going to know when people come? So I went to a solicitor. I was 24 years old. And I said, I've got an answer machine for my phone. Why can't I have one for my doorbell?
Maxine, you could have invented the Ring doorbell. That could have been you.
I went to a solicitor and I was 25 and they told me how much it was going to cost to get a prototype. And I just went, whoa, this is too much. But I learned from that. So I've always had business ideas.
Because I think what's interesting is when you come to entrepreneurship later in life, people make a real point, it's a later in life. And, you know, when sharing your story, we always say Maxine created this when she was 49 or whatever age you were. And it is a later life story. But I don't think that takes from the journey at all.
I don't. I think I've got different experience. I mean, Jesus Christ, I could never have run a business in my 20s and 30s. I was batshit crazy. My brain was all over the place. I would 100 miles an hour there, 100 miles an hour there. And I think as you get older, you are considered. And you do consider everybody around you, which is quite a nice thing to do. I think you think bigger, as in not so much you think you want more, but you think strategically bigger. You know, how is that going to affect that? And I've got skills, you know, everything I take to the boardroom, I have learned from being a woman and a mother. It's no different. Intuition, you have to walk into a room as a mother when your kids are playing with other children and you have to go scan the room, who's okay, who's not.
Yeah.
Same as walking into a meeting. And you have to, those social skills are really important. That frightens me a little bit about lots of virtual, but hey, that is, evolution, right? But I think the skills I learned, I could not have done it any earlier, and that's okay. And I'm having a great time.
And one thing I love is that for so many women in business, it's about the juggle of, you know, how they're going to deal with these small children and their personal ambition and the demands of the business. And you've got it all integrated because your children are not small. They're in the business. Darcy's the co-founder of the business, playing a significant role. How old's Darcy now?
She's 27.
27, and she's at the helm of a £30 million business. I mean, it's an incredible opportunity for her. What's that been like for you guys in your mother-daughter relationship?
Do you know, it's really funny because people get asked this question a lot and people say, oh, how did that happen? We never discussed it. It just organically happened. I'm really passionate about things happen organically, which can be a problem now in the business is so big. Everybody wants to force things. I'm like, oh, let's just let's see where it goes. Darcy picked up the slack. That's how she came to be in the business, because I'd forgot to order, I'd run out of stock, and she'd pick it up, and you know, she would cross the T's and dot the I's. She's the science, if you like. We just spent the weekend in Ibiza together because Margot, my youngest daughter, works in the business as well, and they took me for my birthday. We get on so well. It is weird. But I believe it's because all throughout their lives, even when they were children, there's been no hierarchy. I have treated them as equals. We're fluid. We're fluid. And when one's got a strength, we come forward. When one's not, we go back, whether that's in business or whether that's in personal. And I think the different generations in the business work really, really well.
But surely the business must keep you interlocked as well as family members, because you've got this huge area of common ground. That is a business that is really doing positive work. You know, you must all feel proud every day. I think
we do. I mean, whether it's the team, whether it's our absoluters, you know, I'm no longer CEO. I brought in a CEO, my decision. Yeah. And because I've got Darcy in the business now, I sit every day, I've got the absoluters on one shoulder and the team on the other. I'm just thinking, how does that decision affect them and them? And Darcy's very much part of that. You know, we've got a bigger purpose. It's not just a collagen brand. Our purpose is so much bigger, and we share that vision, we share that purpose, and that's why it works. And they are the first, though. If it was today, someone said to me, business or children, business would be gone.
Yeah, and I know when you say that's true.
100%.
I know when you say, yeah, absolutely. And I think when other women look at you and the relationship you've got with Darcy and Margot, working with them every day, I think that's something that people really admire in you, because most people's children go their own paths and you obviously maintain connections, but you're not fully integrated.
No, and it was never, oh, I want to work with my children. It just happened. And I'm quite free-spirited. My children are quite feral, you know, and they seriously were, I'm telling you now. Margot said to me at 13, there's no fun in this house, there's no rules. I went, there are rules, Margot, but you've been brought up, respect me and yourself, so you'll make your own rules. She was like, oh, right. And that, I'm all about empowerment. And if they didn't want to, they don't want. If Darcy said tomorrow I'm off, I go, well, knock yourself out. Do you?
Yeah.
You know, you've got to respect that in everybody, especially in family members. I think it's really important. No, you can't hold anybody with a gun and go, you're staying. And equally so, I think you've got to know your place. And that is a skill as a mother, the older person in the business. I know when to be quiet. I know when to have conversations. So Darcy and I might be talking, we might be running together, and I think, she's not in the mood to hear that or to talk about that. You've got to know. And she's very good at it too. We can feel, you know, when we need to talk about something, we don't. And sometimes it might take a week to discuss something. You've got to wait till the time's right.
Now, before we go on to your memory lane photos, I want to just talk about I think it's one of your favourite sayings, own who you are. Yeah. And you've got a tattoo of own who you are, haven't you?
I've got it here, yeah.
And ever since I've known you, it's been something that's always rung in my ears. I think it's very hard to do, but very important that people do it. Where did that come from, and what does it mean to you, and how do people take action on that premise? It
came from my fine art degree and the Dare to Go Bare project. In fact, my first tattoo was here, and it was, I'm more than just a body. They're all note to selves. And own who you are is all about, you're enough, you're you, be you. But when I say that, it always has to be done with respect. So I'm not like, oh, I am me and this is what I believe in. I'm very respectful. But I just think you have to stand by what you believe in, and not with force, but with respect.
And why do you think people find it hard to do?
I don't know. I absolutely don't know. Maybe they're just people pleasing, or maybe they just don't know themselves. You've got to figure who you are first, right? And I didn't figure out who I was till nearly 50. So maybe it comes because you're too busy worrying about everyone, putting everybody else first,
Yes,
right?
I think that's true.
And then you get to a time in your life when actually you can breathe and go, okay, this is my time now.
I mean, I'm beginning to see that. My children are obviously a lot younger than yours, but they are now becoming, getting into their teen years. And I'm starting to see that age, maturity, and a bit of space. And when I think about your phrase, own who you are, I'm thinking, I get it. It's beginning to become clear. Yeah. But it couldn't have become clear at a younger point because of all those demands that are on you, which you're right, which is all about other people, the house, the kids, everyone else, everything you're doing. And a lot of women just spend that period of life running around.
I don't know how women do both, I've got to say. I really don't. I mean, I'm a single mother and I was a single mother for a long time. And I started my business as a single mother, but my children were grown up. I do not know how women do it all. I have no idea.
I mean, I don't know how they do it all either. I just think sometimes you have moments. I don't. Sometimes you have moments where you're clinging by the edge of your fingernails.
Yeah. And isn't it wonderful that you can say that? And I think nowadays people do say, you're clinging by your fingernails
you're clinging by your
now.
fingernails just to hope that everything's okay at the end of the day.
Okay. Everyone feels like that at some point. And I think today, in 2024, we're all admitting it.
Yeah.
Instead of pretending we don't feel
I mean, that's definitely a shift that people are admitting and talking about things, particularly women, and talking about some of the challenges that they've faced. There's one more thing I want to talk about before we go to memory lane, which is the phrase you said earlier about how the goalposts move forward. So Absolute Collagen, and you don't quite arrive at the destination. You may do, but only for a brief period in time, because Absolute Collagen has been through so many phases as a business, and it's now in this, I don't know what phase you'd call it now. What phase would you call it now? Advanced phase? How would you describe it?
I still consider us a startup. We still act like a startup, and I like that. We've got investors, but I still quite like the fun and the vibrancy. What stage are we at? I have no idea.
Because the job's never complete, is it? And you said before we came on about the horizons move forward, the visions get bigger. So you're on a journey to this point, and then you get there, and then brief moment of relaxation, and suddenly the goalposts move forward. How do you deal with that?
I think it's human nature. I think it's who we are. And I quite like that. I'm really weird. I like it when there's a problem in the business. Mad. Because you remain focused and considered. And if you got the horizon, what happens when you get to the horizon? You go, oh, we're here now. Oh, well, what now? You have to have something to work towards. And it's not like, oh, I'm chasing 12 figures, or I'm chasing this, I'm chasing that. It's just you always have to strive for better, regardless of what it is. We've just done our clinical trials. Science changes. You always have to strive for better. So the horizon is always there. And I quite like that too.
I think you're right. It is human nature. But I do think we also think, oh, if only I could just get to here, then everything will be okay.
Yeah. Well, when you get there, you realise that, is that it?
Right, let's go down memory lane and have a look at your photos. So the first memory lane photo, who are these two little cherubs?
What happens? This is Darcy and Margot, and they are my reason for everything I do. Everything. And I think for me, having children changed me. It made me step up to the mark on every single thing. Even being in business, I never wanted to cut corners. I always wanted to do things properly because I needed our heads to hit the pillow and know we've done the right thing. And the right thing for me might be different for you, but what's right for you. And they're my reason for everything. 100%. I was put on this earth to be a mother. Absolute blessed.
And now, in terms of the reason for everything, because they're grown up and you've created this incredible, successful business that they're involved in, you don't need to do any more for them. But you still are motivated. You still.
Oh my God, yes. I mean,
you've given them such tremendous gifts and opportunities.
I think the thing I'm most proud of, and I mean this, is they're good people.
Yeah.
You know, Margot will get up sometimes, she's on the computer at 7 and I'm trying to book something in a diary. And I'm, why are you on at 7? I got a dentist at 4. They get it.
Yeah.
They get it. They don't just think they can swan in and out when they want. And they are just really good, kind, considered people. And I look at them, and when I look at that, I think my work here is done. Darcy's all about justice. She's all about justice. And Margot's loyal. Yeah. Yeah. I would not be the person I am today without those beautiful, beautiful people in my life.
And the business wouldn't be the business it is without those.
Everything would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. Right. What's the next memory lane photo? This one.
Yeah, gosh. So that was back in 2019, and I was invited to do a photo shoot for a photographer in London, in Soho, and she was photographing women in business, or, you know, women with something going on in their lives. And she asked me to go, and she said, oh, just bring some clothes and, you know, go behind that screen, come out and do what you want. And we did a bit of photographs, and I went behind the screen. I just put on these 2 wall paint marks. And I love that photograph because that's how it felt at the time. Trying to start a business with no experience, with no degree, launched a formula into a market that didn't exist. I felt like I was in battle every single day. And I know that's how most women feel. And I love that wall paint, actually, and I loved that period of time because something about me likes it when it's hard work. But it was bloody exhausting, Tash. I had to fight. And because I was a woman with grey hair, crazy lady, people just ignored me. You didn't. And
who ignored you? I can't imagine who ignored you.
Well, they were probably terrified of me as well. Shit, who's this woman?
Okay, our next memory lane is the Absoluters. So, Maxine, this is a photo of you and some of your customers and team, isn't it? I can see team members
a couple of team members there. Yeah, we do breakfasts for our Absoluters, and this was in Birmingham where our head office is, and it was just to say thank you. And they were like, you are? Like, thank you. They just were blown away that we didn't want anything from them. They are the reason Absolute Collagen exists. They are our purpose, they are our reason, they are everything the business stands for. And every decision I make, is with her in mind. And I do think when I've gone on this journey, so my original Absoluter was my mum who'd passed away, but she was the woman I had in mind. In every decade of her life, whether she was 30, 40, 50, 60, she died at 60 years old, she was our reason, and I always had her in mind. So we wouldn't be here without them. You know, they are our reason. They're beautiful. And what I love about an Absoluter, what makes an Absoluter, is they get shit done. For one, they challenge, but they're respectful, and that's the 3 qualities I just love. So that's what makes an Absoluter. So if we do something they don't like, they're like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, okay. It's nice. I like it.
I also think, Maxine, you did lead. That was another, whenever I think about the things you did right, that was another thing, giving that community a name, creating them into a group.
Yeah.
Turned out to be, I mean, now everyone's got a group, a community with a name, but you were well ahead of the time at that point.
We were. And you know, it's a private group.
Yeah. And I remember having lots of conversations with you about it.
It's still private. Everybody would like it to be public, and it's something we consider. But it's private for a reason, because these women love to have a safe space where they can just be. And sometimes they'll come on and they'll share their utmost secrets, you know, things that are bothering them. Sometimes they share their very, very first selfie with no makeup on or with makeup on. And that is a space for them. So yeah, we were the first, the community. And I go on the Absolute page at night and it's just like having a great big hug. I love it. I love what they stand for. Yeah, God, quite emotional, really.
Okay, and our final...
Oh, okay. So this is a poem I wrote for myself. I was invited to be the headline speaker at the Woman of the Year this year. And I remember going there back in 2019, sat there, little old me on my own, looking at a sea of women thinking, oh my God, I was invited to be the headline speaker this year. And I wrote myself this poem and I told everybody that I read the poem out, and it is In a world where many bring masks to wear, I say embrace yourself without a care. Go forth with courage, with love and with grace. Be your true self in every single space. Always bring you to the party, no bluff. For my friends, you are more than enough. And I wrote that for myself.
And for every single person
Yeah.
who hears it.
Yeah.
What an incredible poem. And what a brilliant place to end our conversation. Maxine, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a privilege to know you for these years and see your journey and to have a small part in it as well. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. It's been incredible, and just like chat with an old friend. I love it.
I know, we could chat all day.
I know.
Tash Talks is proudly sponsored by Recharge for smarter subscription experiences. The world's best brands are powered by routine, and the world's best routines are powered by Recharge.